Actually, it works fine. Miami to Prescott on United. I think you go to Dallas, I think, right?
Right.
It's the getting out of Prescott. Those
That.
flights suck.
Okay. Okay.
Right? But
Okay.
thank God Ryan is a conversationalist. So, 2 hours driving with him is quite enjoyable.
I
Otherwise,
love
man,
it.
I would be driving myself crazy. All
I
right.
love
So,
it.
my friend, we are live. Everybody say hello to Carlos Redlich, my guest on episode number 324 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. So, if you are not aware, let me make you aware. He's actually the reason why I do podcasts. Okay. Because he came to me one day. Did you come to me because of the Steven Crowder thing as well? Or was that me?
No, that was you. That was you. And I was like, oh, we should just talk about it, I think, on a podcast or something.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. That was you who brought it.
Okay. Right. So Carlos was in town, right? Because you're Miami born, right? And you grew up here. And
Yeah,
then we
well,
kicked you out, right?
yeah, so I was actually born in Kansas City, Missouri, but I have zero memory of that because I left when I was 2 or 3. So
Oh,
raised pretty much
okay.
born in kind of like, Trinidad and Barbados, right?
Now, man, I got tons of memories. Right? Okay. All right. So let me give people the quick background. Ryan and I were trying to work out how long it is that I've known you. I say it's at least 25 years, at least,
Well, now
right?
you're gonna
Which
have
that
I'm
would
gonna have
take
to
us back to 2000.
I'm gonna have to bring here the calculator. So you knew me when I was 12 years old. So
Oh, shoot. It was that young.
I'm 38 years old now. So
Okay, so 26 years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
So all right. So I
close
had it.
to that.
I
I
had
was
it right.
38 minus.
Okay. All right. So Carlos trained with me. Um, uh, did you take a break and then come back?
Yeah, so I trained from like 12 to, let's say, 15, I think. And then from 15 to maybe 18, I
Hmm.
think I was in and out and then just causing chaos in Miami at that age. And
Right.
then found my way back to the
Right.
promised land.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. And I was telling Ryan on record for me, your Muay Thai test is a template for how people. I mean, I've been out of. I'm not too much involved in the Muay Thai anymore, right? So I've been out of it. I don't know if anything has changed the way that they do the test or whatever. But your approach should be a template for everybody on how to do the Thai test,
That's very
right?
nice.
Because I never saw anybody take it to the feeder the way you did. Most people adopt the current, and it's still the current. If you look at combat sports today, you're probably too busy to get involved in that stuff.
I don't really watch it,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But I can tell you, people just kind of sit back and let the guy come at them and they just cover up. Nobody takes it, right? You see? So anyhow, right?
Well, that was all your influence. I mean, to be fair, I would have been just like any other idiot standing there getting beat up. And then you're like, we can't have that happen. I've always wanted someone to like beat up the feeder. And
Yeah.
then, shout out and kudos to John because John worked with me for about 6 months, let's say
Yeah.
every day,
Yeah.
and really trained me up well. And he drilled it into my head as well because he was my coach for this for the test. Other than you, of course, you guided us and he helped fine tune me, I guess. And that's what we drilled into it. And I remember I was so scared of getting beat up because everyone gets beat up. And for six
Right.
months, I was just terrified of getting beat up. And then something switched, and I said, you know what? Screw it. If I get if I don't pass this test, it's going to be because I was disqualified for hurting the feeder. So I
Hmm.
don't even care anymore about
Yeah.
passing. I just want to do this way.
You know what? You just made me think of something because I'm in talking to you. I'm not going to do anything chronological or whatever. You just talked about switch, right? So I had a quick chance to see your hot take on Facebook. Now you
It's a good
noticed
one.
that
It's
right.
good.
You noticed that nobody really touched it, right?
Right.
You know, because it's like they're not going to know what to comment. They're not going to know
Mm.
what to reply on something like that. But the reason why I mean, I was going to bring it up, but the reason why I just thought of it is because you used the word switch, and you were not the same kid that you were, right? 20 years ago. You're not the same human being at all, right?
No.
You even used the term in that Facebook thing. I think it was legacy wealth. And I'm
Yeah.
like, when did he switch to talking like this?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was either generational legacy, yeah, something
Right,
like
generational wealth. Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's what Bruce Lee was doing. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, I've always and you're the one who obviously inspired a lot of this stuff. I talked to my friends many times saying that, you showed me how to get into this marketing world. You showed me how to defend myself before that. And I was like, man, he's always kind of just saved my life whenever I needed it, really.
Thank you.
I didn't want
Thank
to
you.
get beat up or in trouble. Saved me with that. Didn't
Right.
want to be a guy at a job for the rest of my life that hated what he did and wanted to have some freedom. Showed me copywriting and marketing. I didn't know how to sell, didn't know how to communicate. You showed me copywriting because you said if you learn how to talk copy, you'll probably learn how to sell because it's just salesmanship and print.
Right.
And so all of these lessons kind of really came from your inspiration. I think I don't know if it's a difference, but one of the things that I did that may be different from others, like you gave us all this same advice from what I remember, all the instructors and a lot of people at the school, but not a lot of the folks actually did it. And it got me thinking, it's always had me thinking about this is that a lot of folks, like when they think about Bruce Lee or martial art, it's like they always go to the martial art part, but they don't look at all the other lessons that were in there. Because
Hmm.
we all were told, read Psycho-Cybernetics, look at Dan Kennedy, read Craig Garber, do all this stuff. I just think I'm one of the only ones who really did. Look at that. Look what oh man, it's not right next to me, so I'm not going to pull
These
mine out. But
this was
that's
my this was my reading material on the flight out.
is I love it. I love it. I love it.
Right?
But man, Bruce Lee was the guy to model for most things, right? I'm not saying he's like the greatest guy in the world. I don't know, but
Right.
he knew how to fight, knew how to run a business. I mean, this
It's
is the
in,
guy. Go ahead. Go
it's
ahead.
interesting what you said because you said that I gave this information to everybody, but you're the one who went out and implemented it. See, that's similar to Bruce Lee, to people that follow Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune. They read everything, and they copy a lot, but they don't necessarily actually go out and actually implement
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's one thing. It's one thing to just copy along, and just do what everybody else is doing or whatever without thinking about it and without essentially making it yours,
Right.
which is part
Right.
of the JKD mindset. You know,
100%. 100%. Yeah. I mean, he was just a good inspiration for so many things. Plus, didn't he walk around with a 45? So I got myself a 45. I'm trying to be like Bruce Lee. You know what I mean?
yeah. So I've spoken about this before, but I will remind people because you were the one that sent me the video clip of the Bruce Lee documentary where
Oh, that's
Linda,
right.
remember
Yeah.
Linda Lee is sitting in front of the bookshelves or whatever, and then the camera pans over to her, over to the bookshelves, and you sent me, I think you sent me a screenshot or something,
I
and
remember it was a screenshot. Yeah.
right, and your caption was, I think your caption was proof.
Yeah.
Right? You know? Yeah,
It was. I mean, it's and it's funny. I bet you no one really even paid attention to too many of those books. They probably paid more attention to like the Chinese philosophy and like the martial art type books
yeah,
and glanced over all of like salesmanship 101, marketing
yeah,
101,
yeah.
all of these types of things.
I mean, how many people do you think if we ask them, right? So let's see. So Mick Tully's on here, Terry Valor's on here, Alfred Magnan's on here, Ryan's here, Ron Goldstein's here,
What's
Scorch
up,
on
guys?
Scorch over on YouTube, and Wing Zero, right? That's Bucky. Okay, so you reprinted Bruce Lee's My Definite Chief Aim. Of all
Yeah.
the people who were on here, let's give them a couple seconds. Can any of you guys tell us the source material that Bruce Lee would have used for My Definite Chief Aim? You see, I wonder if anybody, because what's funny is that, so these are the September and October newsletters, right, from Magnetic Marketing,
Yeah.
and your good friend Russell Brunson, he started a new thing. See, now I was
Let's
gonna
go,
say,
Alfred.
I was
Sorry,
gonna
just
say, if
comment.
anybody knows, it will be Alfred.
Let's
I
go,
was gonna
Alfred.
say that, right? Yes. You see? Now, why? Because Alfred, I think Alfred's retired from running a school, but Alfred run a successful Kempo school for a while as well. You see? So
There
it's
are a lot
it's
of those, huh?
no.
Successful tempo guys.
Well, I mean, no, they actually, I would say they're probably more successful Kempo schools than there are successful Jeet Kune Do schools.
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh,
It,
okay, right, yeah,
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 that's what
yeah.
I mean.
I mean,
Yeah,
because remember, I mean, you're talking martial art business. Ed Parker was, one of the pioneers, I would say, of martial art business stuff,
right.
right? So people like Alfred, people like Sean Kelly up in Palm Beach, right? I think even Dave Kovar. Remember Dave Kovar?
Don't know who that.
No,
No,
you don't know Dave Kovar.
last name sounds familiar, but I can't say I remember. No.
Okay, all right. Because I remember I went to New York or New Jersey to a Dave Kovar martial art business thing. It was him and his brother, and I still can't remember his brother's name. It might have been Aaron, but I remember his brother starts talking about copywriting,
Ooh,
and 99%, right? 99% of the martial art instructors in the room thought he was referring to the little, the little C in the circle thing.
so many people do. I got so tired
Right?
of even explaining what copywriting was. I just tell people I write stuff online and it gets published every once in a while. I just stop trying to explain it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember. You remember we would work on scripts and what have you, right?
Yes.
Right. So
Oh
so
God.
remember the one about Jeet Kune Do is both a martial art and a martial philosophy, a
Uh,
philosophy which emphasizes
uh-huh.
well-roundedness as a martial artist and well-roundedness as a human being. Remember that
Yes.
one,
Yes.
right? That
Yeah.
would all that stuff you and I worked on, using the Dan Kennedy stuff and what have you, because that's what it took.
Yeah.
That's what it took.
Yeah.
People think I mean, you're not in martial art that much anymore. So I wonder, maybe Mick Tully can tell me this.
Let's go, Mick.
Um, i- in today's day and age, right? Can you just put up a sign that says MMA or a sign that says BJJ or a sign that says Muay Thai and the people will flock to it? I wonder. I don't know. I suspect you can.
I had friends who had a Muay Thai school that would just put up karate signs all over the place because no one knew what Muay Thai was. Like well, I guess they knew, but they said they got more people responding to them when they put up like karate street signs or something.
How long ago was this?
Oh,
Because I
this was
think.
like 15 plus years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I think that's different today.
No, not today. Not today. Muay Thai is probably the most known like form of martial art now.
Probably, right? Probably. So um, so the idea to have this talk, right, between the two of us, was because you said to me that you had was it that you had come to another realization or something, or you were just thinking about Bruce Lee and marketing and what have you? Do
I'm
you
not
remember
sure.
what it was?
I forget what it was. Sometimes I get triggered when I see
Hmm.
something online, and then I can't remember what it was, but I'm just assuming it was something like someone said something on your podcast, and I just probably responded like Bruce Lee was a marketer, like you should have
Yeah.
money because Bruce Lee was a marketer. I don't know exactly,
Okay.
but anytime it's always blown me away because you did ingrain in us that marketing, business, all of these things are important. And then to me, I used to hate marketing and sales, and I would get drenched in sweat whenever I would have to shake hands with someone coming in for even a free trial at the school or whatever. It was horrible.
Yeah.
But the you know, there's a lot when I figured out that Bruce Lee, especially from that screenshot I sent you, was already investing himself in this type of stuff and learning all of these things. It just became more okay. It like gave me permission to like marketing and like sales and not feel like some weird pushy
Hmm.
sales guy or whatever,
Hmm.
because no one likes that, right? But I was like, well, my Joe Bruce Lee was a master marketer. One of the reasons he closed his school was so that he could train celebrities and movie stars so he can make more money in less time. Not saying
Yeah.
that was his only reason for closing it, but it was one of them. And he wrote down he wanted to make $10 million back in 1970 in his account so he could live life freely or whatever. I would say I would revise it if I was Bruce Lee and say like he should be living his life on his terms anyway before he makes his $10 million. But the $10 million to me is super important because that's no matter what, 10 million bucks is a lot of money. When you put it into comparison, that's like 80 something million dollars in today's money.
Yeah.
And so he wasn't really just thinking of, hey, let me get a little bit of money, let me get rich. He was literally thinking of generational wealth that could be passed down through his family forever. And so why are we broke as Jeet Kune Do guys if our founder focused on getting rich? It was literally in his ultimate chief aim that he wanted
Yeah.
to make in today's money $4 million in his account. Like
I can
that's
tell
not
you.
a small thing.
I can tell you why. Right. These were the
Uh,
words. These were the words that were said.
uh-oh.
Whatever it is that the commercial schools are doing, you want to do the opposite. Right.
Mhm.
And I lived by that until I saw the Mercedes that the Taekwondo guy was driving.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. When I saw
Exactly.
the Mercedes, I thought, maybe there's something to this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. And
All these
so,
JKD guys need to learn to like market because if you're a Jeet Kune Do guy, this is what get me. It doesn't get me as riled up as it used to when I was like I had a school and I was more involved in this.
right.
But it used to rile me up. I was like, how are these JKD guys all not business savvy and don't care to be? Like they don't
Well,
even care. There's one
yeah.
thing to not have it and then say I'm going to work hard and I'm going to figure it out. Shoot, the founder of the martial art that I'm teaching focused on making $84 million. That was his goal.
Yeah.
Why the heck am
Well,
I not doing that?
because that aspect of Bruce Lee was not at all emphasized. Not at
Yeah.
all.
I don't
Nobody.
think he was like a Shaolin monk by any means.
No,
You know,
no.
I think
But
that's
no.
how some people
I
portray
mean,
him.
well, there's the picture of the Rolls Royce.
I haven't seen that.
Oh
That's
yeah.
great.
Oh
I have
yeah.
to
Right. Um, even the there's the famous. business card of $275 per hour, which if you do the calculation today, if 10 million and 69 is 84, so that's 8.4. So 275, 8.4, 40, 28, 32, 16, 9. That's close to $2,000,
Right.
right? Okay.
Right.
An hour is what
Yeah.
right? And $10,000 a week for overseas travel, right? Because he went to I think he went to Switzerland for a while and to train a director. I forget the name of the director over there, right? So he was not afraid to use his skill and talent and knowledge to make a good life for himself.
Well, you know what else he did, which is another key aspect of how he was able to charge so much. He focused on building a personal brand. And in 1970s, how do you build a personal brand? You get on TV, man. You get on the news. You get on the movie theater. You get on the big screen because that's all that's available at
Hmm.
that time. How do you
Hmm.
do it today? You run Facebook ads. You run Instagram ads. You have YouTube ads. You make yourself a celebrity because anyone can become a local celebrity in their niche. If you have a Jeet Kune school in Prescott, Arizona, or Miami, Florida, if you first off should dedicate some kind of budget to it, because without a budget, you kind of just what does Dan Kennedy say? If it's like a hobby, you basically just
Right.
have a hobby, you don't have a business. So
Yeah.
let's assume we treat this like a business and also a passion and everything. We want to grow it. Well, if you want to start charging a bunch of money for anything, whether it's a martial art instructor or martial art instruction or something else, build that personal brand. And I guarantee you, for martial artists, local marketing is the easiest thing. For $5,000, I could make you the most popular guy in your city in like 3 to 4 months, guaranteed. Because all you've got to do, and I don't want to get too technical with it, but all you got to do is have a series of video advertisements that have your face in a uniform so people know you, and they can, when they see you in the street and you're wearing the same uniform, that's why I always wear my copywriter sweater.
Yeah.
They know you because you created this personal brand. You don't even have to be as famous as Bruce Lee to be able to charge Bruce Lee prices, because locally you'll be that guy or that gal that is literally the go-to person for whatever it is. And you can do that. You just have to be willing to put in the work, put in the effort, put in some money. And putting in money doesn't mean you go broke. If you can't afford $5,000, that's okay. You start with $20 a day. You can't do $20 a day, that's okay. Start with $10 a day. But get that thing moving, because the faster you build your personal brand, the more reputable you're going to become in the eyes of the general public, who you are
Hmm.
probably trying to introduce to your school. And so who are they going to go to? The guy they see all over the internet for like 10 to $20 a day, which is like a very small budget to get famous. Or are they going to go with just some random dude they saw on Google? They're going to go with the guy they have familiarity with because they know you.
Right.
They like you because they've seen your videos, and now they trust you because you've built that over time, where now when they go on YouTube, there's an ad. But here's the types of ads that work well for these types of for this type of approach to build that personal brand. You don't have, when people think of ads, they think of selling, and that's 100% okay to do. But that's not what's going to necessarily get you famous. Like I said, if you do these like videos like what we're doing right here, or anything that's just got your face demonstrating
Hmm.
your expertise, you can put money behind that because of the technology we have today, and blow it up to your target audience. So when folks wonder, like, yeah, man, Bruce Lee was able to do that because he was Bruce Lee. No, man, if Bruce Lee was alive today, I guarantee you he would be running ads everywhere in the country for pennies, because he's like, you kidding me? I don't have to do all this work to go on TV and do do these cinemas and do all that. You're telling me I can do this for cheaper and I can do it faster? Of course, Bruce Lee would be on Facebook ads and YouTube ads and doing all this stuff, man.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be running it himself.
Yeah, no, I'd
You
run it
know,
for the man. I'd
because
run it. I'll do it for free lessons.
being an international movie superstar, I'm sure he'd
Well,
have He'd have a team,
Yeah, I mean,
you
look
know?
at you mentioned Russell Brunson. Russell Brunson is not famous all around the world for the normal person, but I think he's got $1 billion company or something now, and
Hmm.
he's very famous among marketers and business people and advertisers. Everyone knows him. If he goes walking around, he's like the most famous marketer in the world. I mean, it's incredible. Tony Robbins, who was doing tons of infomercials 20 plus years ago and forever, even before that,
Yeah,
who was doing he became famous because he was doing all those infomercials, getting on TV, doing all that type of stuff, ending up in certain movies. But look at what he does now. If you follow him, he's doing massive YouTube marketing campaigns where he's attracting tens of thousands of people to live webinars and
right.
then eventually selling them something. But that's what he's doing. And so it's the same formula. And
Yeah.
so I saw a comment, I forget where, but someone was just asking, how do I do it if Bruce Lee did this because he's Bruce Lee or something? Well, you got to get your personal. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee was a marketer, so we got to start thinking like marketers.
So you know what blew my mind a few months ago, and I was going to call you the second I saw it, but then I got
I'm
busy.
getting hot right here. I may have to
I
take this switcher off.
I saw your boy Grant Cardone on TV, but not in like an infomercial or whatever, whatever. He was like on Fox News or something,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? And I'm like, oh my God, Grant Cardone has gone mainstream,
Yeah,
right?
he has. I mean, not my boy, but I respect the guy for what he's done because he's actually another good example of it. He said the same thing. He's like, the fastest way to just be able to make easy sales, get famous, have a
Yeah,
personal brand. Who's
yeah,
not going to want to sign up with Bruce Lee? Everyone wants to. Well, the
right.
same thing should be said with whoever's watching this. Like, why would someone want to sign up with Joe Schmo? Because they've seen all of your videos and they
Mhm.
resonate with you. One of
Yeah.
my good friends, Levi Lassick, he's got a really good YouTube channel. He does a bunch of cool stuff. But one of the things he does, he attracts business for his real estate business. This guy's made 6 million in commissions in like 3 years or something like that, selling real estate, one of the top real estate guys out there. And you know what he does? He doesn't make a single cold call. He doesn't do anything other than 3 videos a week on his YouTube, which
Right.
attracts eyeballs to him. And when you hear the conversations, people, when they call him or get on his calendar, I mean, I've listened to them.
Hmm.
They literally like, oh my gosh, you're Levi from YouTube? Oh wow, I didn't think I was going to actually get to talk to you. They're all lay down closes.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to work with him because
Yeah.
he's built his personal brand and he did it for free. Well,
That
pays
that
extra.
that's do you remember the story that Dan Kennedy would tell? I forget who it was, but if somebody would reach out to this guy, he would just take a stack of reviews, printed reviews, and wrap a string around and put them in a box and send them to the prospect.
Oh gosh, that's funny. That's hilarious.
Right?
That's
That was it.
hilarious.
That was it. That's how he sold.
That's
Right?
so
He just
funny.
used social proof, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just sent that stuff off.
Well, that's one of the easiest ways to get someone to move towards the action you'd like them to take is by having so much social proof. It's overwhelmingly convincing where it's just like, why would I not do this? I have to do
Mhm,
this. Like
mhm.
this makes no sense otherwise. In one of my old copywriting mentors, he passed away. I was very lucky to have him be my copy chief when I was writing some copy for a company named Agora, and his name's Clayton Makepeace. And he
Wait, no, hold on a second. You know, I could have told you that, right?
could have told me what.
I could have told you that it was Clayton Makepeace and Agora. You know, I could have told you that, right?
I did not know. You could have told me that.
Of
No.
course, I could have told you that. You think when you first told me that you don't remember, but when you first told me that you were working with Clayton Makepeace, I fell out of my chair.
Really?
Yes.
Well, he's a legend or was a
Yeah.
legend.
Right?
He's
And
one of the Bruce
Agora,
Lees.
I mean, if people don't, well, people won't know about Agora publications. You know,
No.
they
It's the
they, they
Agora companies for perspective, and under the Agora companies, there's like 30 different subsidiary companies,
yeah,
which all end up competing against each other, but they all work together at the same
yeah,
time. They're all part of the same company, and they're a big billion-dollar corporation. But what's interesting is this is going in a different area, but what's kind of funny is they set it up so if one of their $100 million subsidiaries gets sued, it's only that one, but then there's like 30 others still running, so you can
hmm,
so they can still kick
yeah.
butt.
They probably set them all up as individual trusts or something, right? Or
Yeah,
individual
I don't.
LLCs or something. Yeah, because Agora is the parent company. They used to be in, weren't they in Fort Lauderdale? Weren't they in Florida?
They have branches all over. There's
They were
one. There used
headquartered
to
in
be one in
Florida,
Delray. Yeah, there's one in Delray Beach. There's
right?
one. Um,
Because remember the
Fort
guy
Lauderdale.
Michael Masterson,
Yeah.
right?
Oh
Remember
yeah.
him?
Of
Okay,
course.
and I think, and then Craig Ballantyne and Early to Rise,
Oh yeah.
right? Okay, and then there's Steve. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's like Steve Sigerud or something, right? And this is the branch of Agora that is headquartered in Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
This is where a lot of their business and invest in stuff comes out of, like St.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's Street or something in
Oh
in
yeah.
Baltimore. Yeah,
Their
yeah,
office looks like a big house.
yeah, yeah, man. I used to be all wrapped up in all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, Clayton would. Well, that's so. Clayton was telling me because I was writing. I remember I had to read. I had to rewrite this sales letter like 17 plus times,
Yeah.
and it was brutal. It was so rough. I learned a ton, obviously, but one of the things I learned from Clayton was that he's like, "Yeah, listen, whenever we're trying to sell something, just include 50 elements of proof in your video sales letter or your long form sales letter." Testimonials, graphs, screenshots of stuff. He's like, when we get to about that 50 elements of proof point,
Hmm.
people just start believing,
Right.
right? And so I know we were just talking about like testimonials and proof and stuff, but that's I learned that from Clayton, and there's so many similarities, like for from marketing to martial art and Bruce Lee, that whenever I was working with Agora and Clayton Makepeace, I would always start seeing like some kind of Jeet Kune reference. Like
Yes.
there's always something there,
Yeah.
that you can always tie in.
Yeah. I look. You know, you can you can go to the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, right? You go to the Tao of Jeet Kune Do as an experiment. You go, okay, I'm going to be reading this. I'm going through the pages of the Tao because I want to come up with the bullets, right? That I can use. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Oh yeah.
you will find a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You will find a lot of stuff in there if you know what you're looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the problem. People don't know what it is that they're looking for. All right, so I wanted to do this. I want to have some fun with you on this, right? I'm gonna drop the name, and you're gonna talk about the person for a little bit, right?
Okay.
So we
Let's do.
start. John Carlton.
Oh, I interviewed him on my podcast
No
years.
way.
Yeah, I got to shoot it to you. I mean, he's not like my friend or anything. It's not like I can call, hey, what's up, John?
Right.
But no, I learned from him from his course, and then I just asked him, just can I interview you? And he said yes, so that was very very nice of him.
Mm-hmm.
And he is similar to me. We're both big poker players. I actually got very into poker back in 2019 or 18 or something like that, because it
Uh,
reminded me of martial art where I don't have to have a headache after getting hit. It's just my bank account that gets hit. But it's the same type of stuff.
yeah.
Same, very similar. It always goes back to martial art for me.
But so
Good.
here's the thing I just thought of, right? One of his courses, do you remember it was called
Kick ass. Oh,
The Simple Writing System?
yes. I know exactly which one. It was a lot of him critiquing copy from folks who were, yeah, that simple writing system was people at a seminar and him tearing up their sales pages and saying, don't say this, say this. And that was actually one of the first, not my first course, but it was one of the first courses that really sticks out to me, because I remember just rewatching it over and over and over, thinking like, wow, I can't say this because of that, but I should say this because of that reason, right? It's like what Clayton Makepeace told me. I would use the word incredible in my copy a lot before I worked with Clayton. And he would circle it and exit, and I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I'm like, is this not incredible? Does this suck? Like, what do you not like about this little word? And I talked to him on the phone, and he was like, well, if it's incredible, does that mean it is not credible? I was like, oh, I guess so. He's like, yeah, words matter. I was like, words do matter. Words do matter, right? So
isn't it funny that John Carlton had something called the simple writing system, and Bruce Lee talked about Jeet Kune Do being simple, direct, right, and effective.
Well, that's why I think Jeet Kune Do practitioners and instruction, and just for everyone who knows, I am on the tail end of getting over a cold. So if you hear me kind of struggling a little, forgive
That's
me.
why we're not in the same room, even though we're in the same town, right? If we got together in the same room, neither of us would survive this weekend's workshop.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Now you're going to make me cough.
See, there we go. It's contagious already.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, I mean, the Jeet Kune Do practitioners, we're all taught to be the most efficient, direct, things like that, right? Well, direct response marketing is literally the exact same mentality. It should be simple. It should be direct, because it's direct response. We're trying to get a direct response from our audience, person, whoever, right? Even asking folks who are watching this, hey, comment below for whatever, that's direct response. We're asking you to give us a direct response, right? So if we want to like grow, I think a lot, and when I say we, I mean like Jeet Kune Do and a lot of folks in the community, I think we really just need to take a nice step forward into the marketing world, just like Joe Bruce Lee would do, and learn some basic direct response marketing, because you don't have to be a master marketer if you're trying to promote your local martial arts school. You just got to be a better marketer than the kung fu guy across the street. And I guarantee you, most of these people are not good marketers. They just do stuff. And because they're doing stuff and you're not doing stuff, they're winning. You know what I mean? And it kills me, because I'm like, I'm a Jeet Kune Do guy first, love Muay Thai, but I always looked at it like I was a Jeet Kune Do mindset guy who just liked the aggression of Muay Thai. That was how I always looked at it, but I always thought I was smart. This is not true, but this is how I thought, right? When I was young, I was like, I'm smarter than these Muay Thai guys doing all this or whatever. I know how to like, you know, insert and do all whatever. But I was like, the aggression I love from Muay Thai, but the mentality and the thought process and everything that comes from Jeet Kune Do, that's the way, man. And why can't we apply that to more than just fighting and like philosophy? Why can't we apply it to something that's very practical, that's going to dramatically improve your life and help spread the good word of Jeet Kune Do? Why don't we do that? I think it should be mandatory for anyone that wants to be a full instructor in Jeet Kune Do to have to go through some kind of basic business marketing seminar or something. I'm not saying you got to go to college for this. You don't learn this in college, but you learn this in like a 30-day sprint on YouTube.
One more thing about John Carlton. So remember his handle as the internet group was the Marketing Rebel. I ripped him off.
Oh, I know. I don't think he would mind though. It's just swiping and deploying. Swiping and deploying.
Yeah, I ripped him off. Okay, all right. Gary Halbert.
Oh man, I'm good friends with his son.
Be sure to mention Bond too.
Yeah, I love Bond, man. Bond is a good Bond is a good buddy of mine, and who's sorry, I just want to make sure my laptop wasn't turning too much. Yeah, Gary Halbert, one of my personal favorite copywriters. I never got to meet him. He passed away before I think I was really involved in this marketing stuff. but I studied him like probably more than anybody when I was like, well, him and uh,
Garber.
Craig Garber,
Yeah.
and Craig Garber was also a student of Gary Halbert, which is probably why I love Craig's copy so much, right?
And Joe Polish, right?
Well, Joe Polish was a client. I don't think he
Ah,
was necessarily a student. Joe Polish
yeah.
hired Gary Halbert to do stuff,
Okay.
and then, but anyways, yeah. So Bond Halbert, who I've chatted with tons of times, he's recommended me for tons of stuff in the past. I'm in like one of his books, and he's like him and his other brother Kevin are doing a great job, like carrying the Halbert legacy and still passing that on. Um, but yeah, man, when I even go to Chat GPT to help me with my copy now, thank God for Chat GPT. For anyone who's with me on that, if you don't know it yet, you go get yourself a Chat GPT subscription or something. But even when I write with Chat GPT, I'll ask it. I'm like, okay, write emotional, do this, do that, and then I always say, make sure you write like Gary Halbert would, and it writes a very hard hitting, emotional, somewhat shocking sales letter, and
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's very
How
good.
how does it know how Gary Halbert wrote?
So I don't know. I would assume because it can scour the internet and do
Right.
searches. I have the
So
$20
it
a
could
month.
go to the Halbert letter.
It could, and I've also fed a bunch of stuff to my Chat GPT. Like I'll upload sales letters, and I have personal structures that I've developed over the years that
Right.
I know typically convert well. And so
Mhm.
I'll upload structures that I like to follow for my long form copy, and then I'll upload copy from the greats. Because here's something funny. If you're trying to beat copywriters today, you just need to go into the past and start ripping off the old school guys, but
Yeah.
modernizing the language, modernizing the hooks. But it's the same stuff. The old school guys had to make their stuff work because they were paying tens of thousands of dollars to put their ads in a newspaper or in a
Yeah.
magazine. So those guys were probably the best copywriters. And if you're gonna rip off anyone, just rip off the best,
Right. No, it's so funny because I remember, right? I think you and I talked about this. My first live event with Kennedy and Glazer, right? One of the first things they said was look at what's working in an industry other than yours, right? And see what you can bring. And I'm like, well, that's called absorb what is useful in Jeet Kune Do.
Yeah. 100%. Like the
Right?
dry cleaner, the drive-through dry cleaner or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
you know. And then when I started learning, like you just mentioned, the old schoolers, right? So I mean, I'll mess up on the names now, but Joe Sugarman and the people before him, right?
Right.
Well, in Jeet Kune Do, we had that. We had the old schoolers who were the guys that had trained with Bruce Lee, you
Uh,
know? So I always used to make those connections, right? When I would be at a Glazer Kennedy conference, I'd be like, this is Jeet Kune Do over and over and over again, right? Even because I always considered Dan Kennedy, right, to be the Bruce Lee of marketing, right?
mm,
And Bill Glazer to be the Dan Inosanto.
that's a great comparison.
Right? That's how I always looked at it.
Yeah.
The two of them. And so, funnily enough, over the years, I think I was with Glazer Kennedy for 10 years, and I can only think of.
I appreciate that. That's where my initial marketing knowledge came from, and all for free. Well, you paid for it.
Do you remember? Do you remember that he essentially wrote our telephone script?
I do remember that. Well, you told me that. I didn't see it happen, but yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah.
That telephone script was gold. I mean, I use that for parts of my intake forms anyway now when it comes to like online forms that people fill out. They just go
Mhm.
through like have you ever heard of us before? Have you done this before? Why is now a good time? It's like the
Yeah.
same type of questions.
Yeah. Right. And if you think about it, right? If you think about it, as we continued to work that, we used to whittle it down. And remember when there was a time where we would leave out a whole section and we would just establish, right, in the beginning, and then we would go right to the CTA. Remember?
Yeah. Well, I don't even think I got that far. I would get to hello and then start trembling because I didn't know how to talk. And that's why you were telling me we gotta teach you how to do how to like communicate with people. You're like stumbling here. How can you punch and kick and then be scared of like a 60-pound girl coming in for a fitness kickboxing class? Like what are you scared
Yeah.
of? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um, I want to bring this conversation back to the switch in you. Um, I wonder if family had anything to do with it. And I don't mean brothers and sisters or mom and dad.
Mhm.
I mean becoming your own patriarch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely a switch that happened, I suppose. But I mean, I don't know if I mean, I've had different switches. I've gone through different phases. I think that's normal, right? I'm 38 and then I started trying to like get rich and make money and stuff when I was 25 or 24 or something like that. And I wasn't, but I was trying.
Mhm.
And so when I was in my 20s, all I cared about, it's actually funny because it's embarrassing. So I mean, some of the things I told people I get embarrassed about. I'm like, God, what what an idiot. Um, I would tell people if you got a job, you're an idiot. If you're not, making X amount of money, you're an idiot. Like just stupid stuff. And because all I was thinking of when I was in my 20s was I want to get rich. That was my primary focus. And I want to get famous because I also wanted the ego and the respect from all these other
Mhm.
people to say, look at this guy, look how he did it, blah, 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 all of this stuff. And I wanted that. And then when I was, and so I started making a little bit of money, and then I ended up buying like a really, it was like a new Corvette at the time, tricked out with all this stuff, and I was flying around, loving it. And I something started happening. It's like when I was, and especially at this is probably my earlier 30s or early to mid 30s, I guess, where I stopped wanting people to really know who I was. And I was becoming more comfortable with who I really was. When I was in my 20s, I was trying to become this thing I thought I was supposed to be.
Right.
And then when I was finally getting somewhere with some stability and having some kind of comfort and whatnot in my life, I realized I'm like, all I'm doing is wasting money. I was flying private jets for no reason. I didn't need to fly private. I could just go fly a normal freaking plane. Like, but I was flying private. I took Romario, Romy. So
Mhm.
Romy came to our house once here when I was living in Scottsdale. And I was like, dude, Romy knew me when I was broke. Let's surprise him. So I woke him up and I was like, hey, Romy, you want to go to Denver for breakfast? He's like, what? I was like, yeah, let's go take the private jet. Let's just go to Denver. And so he's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I took him on a private jet with Tiffany and we hung out there for the day and then flew back. And that was cool to do that for him. It was cool to do that for me also and Tiffany and whatever. But that that was funny. But I don't know, man. As I started getting a little bit older, I just realized I don't really have the desire to do any of that. That wasn't even for me. I
Mhm.
don't care about, I mean, I'm glad I did it because now
Mhm.
I know what that's like,
Right.
but it's a shittier flight. It's way more turbulence because it's not a heavy jet. I
Right.
hate turbulence. And so when the jet is going and hitting turbulence, it feels like it's doing this. And I'm just dying the entire time. But I'm like, give me a picture because I'm supposed to be on this private jet and everyone's gonna think I'm like this and whatever. But man, I hated it. And so as I'm, getting to now, I have a truck a nice truck, but I don't care about my Corvette. I used to want like a Rolls Royce and all this. So I was like, I have zero desire for it. All I want to do is keep stacking the account and then living my life in peace and helping other people, because it feels like so many people are stuck and don't really have a way out in this world. And it's it's like most people don't have a goal of making $1 million a year or whatever. I mean, if they made 3 to 5 grand extra a month, that's life changing for them. And that's not hard to do. You could do that. You could create that income in a month or less if you just know what to do. It's just not that hard. It's just we don't know what we don't know. And so like I have a soft spot for poker players and for martial artists because that's where I come from now, right? So I've helped tons of martial art people for free with my own money, getting ads behind their stuff. And
you were at, remember what I think when I came back from doing the movie in Nevis, like maybe the week after, you met Victor Young.
yes, dude, I was speaking at a conference or at like a little seminar thing, and he's Victor Young. And he's out there. And anyway, so I do my presentation. I show these guys how to get local leads using Instagram ads and, all this cool stuff. Everyone was blown away. I even told them, this is Paul Hamley's, sorry, Paul, because I can't remember how to pronounce your last name, but Paul is a great guy. But this was Paul's event. And I was showing his people, where Victor was one of the people in the audience, how to get leads. And I was like, listen, guys, how many of you guys are doing this type of approach? No one was doing it. I was like, okay, we're going to do this step by step. And by the time my presentation today is done, you guys someone here will get a lead. Guaranteed, someone will get a lead. Well, I shit you not. When I was done, like half the room was getting leads already. They're like, I got someone to message me for a free class. Oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. It was the coolest thing ever. But Victor went up there and was asking questions because it was like a hot seat thing or whatever. And we were answering their questions and stuff. And so he was in the hot seat. He mentioned something and then said Jeet Kune. And then he had hundreds of students. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's amazing. He's in the business world because he's at this business conference. Right. And he's a Jeet Kune guy. And he's super cool. And I'm like, first thing I did, I was like, hey, you got to go talk with my old instructor. He has this group that he's running. We called I Love Jeet Kune. And blah, blah. He's like, oh yeah, I did a podcast with him already. I was like, what? My gosh. It was the best moment because it kind of came full circle. Cause I did this thing for Paul for free. He was in town and I just spoke at it for free. And because it's the martial art thing, and I have a soft spot for martial artists because I think they should all be making money. There's no reason any of them should be poor. You know how to beat somebody up, but you can't make $1. It's ridiculous. It's way harder to beat somebody up than it is to make $1. Like, so anyways.
Yeah. So I'm gonna present you with what I have heard from people, right, as a real world problem, and that is that Jeet Kune Do is not as well known as other things today.
Yeah, and it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter because people aren't going and search. People that are looking for martial art unless they're like me. Like when I went and I live in Prescott and I wanted to train Jeet Kune Do again, I didn't want to go train karate. I didn't want to go train Muay Thai. I didn't want to do submission. I just wanted to train Jeet Kune Do. And I didn't think that was going to exist here. But then I was doing my searches and found some stuff. And then I found Ryan because Ryan commented on some guy's Instagram that I was looking at his school initially because I wasn't finding my Jeet Kune Do school, but I was like, I got to do something. This guy's got Jeet Kune Do experience, but he's teaching catch wrestling. Maybe it's close enough. Screw it. And then I saw Ryan comment on this guy's video and Ryan's school name. They said Shadow Wolf JKD. And I was like, oh God, please be in Prescott. Please be in Prescott. And it's like, oh, let's go, Ryan. And so that's why I'll never train anywhere else because, Ryan's my boy. But no, people don't need to know what you need. Here's the type of ad you can do. And if you're trying to grow your JKD school or any school, really, want to train martial arts, question mark. DM me for more info or DM me for a free class. That's it. That's
Yep.
literally it, because what they're coming in for is martial arts. And then you're going to expose them to the martial art that they need.
Right.
They don't care what it is unless
Right.
they're a very savvy client.
Right.
99% of your population, they just want martial arts. They want MMA. They don't know what they want, you know? So
Yep.
just
Yep.
call it martial arts because that's
Yeah.
what it is. And
You
then
know,
tell them it's Jeet Kune.
and the funny thing is, that Jeet Kune has so many great selling points. You know, as being both the art and the philosophy behind it, has so many great selling points. But I'll tell you what, I don't think a lot of people have those selling points organized, right? They don't have it organized in their brains because
Mm-hmm.
they never committed to writing a sales letter for it. You see, they never
Right.
committed to writing a sales letter. They never had, right, a 3-step sequence. Do you remember? Remember
I remember the free report that would get mailed out to people.
there was the free report, right? And then there was also the 3-step letter sequence for people who no showed for
Mm-hmm.
their intros or what have you. And then there was a 3 email sequence
Well, then there was
before.
also like a 3 or 4-step call sequence. I mean, you had it
Yeah,
dialed in, Sifu. I mean, you hit
yeah.
them at every way we could.
I think I
Phone,
measured it one
email.
time. I measured it one time. I think we had a 45-day follow-up sequence.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think right. See,
yeah,
and this is the thing, right? I mean, shoot, I haven't talked about this in so long, man.
yeah. Well, and you were doing this also before the easy days of having Facebook ads and Instagram ads that were able to get dialed in. Yeah, I don't know how the heck you were. I mean, I wasn't involved in that part. I don't know how you were attracting students other than your own direct mail mark. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, I know we had walk-ins, but like the
it
school
would,
grew
well,
pretty
I mean,
big.
yeah, but we didn't have that many walk-ins,
No, we
right?
didn't.
We didn't have that many walk-ins. But what we had was a website. Do you remember? I don't know if I told you this. A guy told me once, he says, "Yeah, your website, that's like one of them marketing websites."
Well, yes.
Right?
Marketing type
He
tool.
he was trying he was
What?
trying to insult me, right? And
Yeah.
he
Well,
goes, "Yeah."
thanks for calling. Thanks for showing that that marketing website works. Did you
Right?
want to come in for a class or?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
Well,
man.
that was also something else. You didn't offer free classes from what I remember. And when I say we, it wasn't me. I couldn't sell anything.
You could say
But
we. You were part of the team.
yeah, well, you guys were selling a like we were selling a 59.95 like
No, it was
introductory program or
what was
something.
it? Now and
It
now
was it was
the
50 or 60 bucks.
here's what was free. There was the free consultation. Remember?
Yeah. No, I do
Remember?
remember it. I do
There was
remember it.
the
Yes.
free consultation, right?
I
And
love it.
the goal of the free consultation was what?
To get them sold on.
The paid intro,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and the free consultation, just so everyone knows, was not a free class. It was sitting at a table with Sifu and having a conversation like what we're having now. Like
It was
that
the
was
early days of podcasts.
it was a legitimate converse. It was a
Yeah,
real consultation. It was
that's
not
where
like, hey, let's get you on the floor.
that's where I honed my skills for interviewing people.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you had that presentation on lock. I mean, I remember you, and maybe it was actually to enroll folks, but you had a like a blue pill and red pill option for people. And it was like you were taking them through a booklet that you had created. And then at the end, it was like, you're going to take the blue pill, you're going to take the red pill or whatever. And, you know,
Yep.
it was really
Yep.
next level.
That made its way onto the free report as well. And I guarantee I have never come across another martial art school owner who had a free report.
No,
I've
no, that
never
type
come
of
across
stuff.
one.
that all of that stuff, if I don't know if you have it, you can probably license it. All of that stuff just installed into a business would dramatically improve their results. They just, the only thing you didn't have in that I saw was a front end like acquisition system, like Facebook ads to get them into the door.
Right.
You
Yeah.
did something obviously because we had a crap load of people calling every
We,
day.
yeah.
It was
I,
SEO. What am I talking about? You ranked on
it,
Google. You were like the number one guy on Google.
I think so. Yeah. I think that it was the website because remember the guys in Canada, they had, I had built, remember I built the first website using,
Mass
no,
composer
Publisher. I think I used
publisher.
Publisher. And then when I talked to Verio, the hosting company, they said, no, we don't host off Publisher. They go, you have to use Microsoft Front Page,
Oh my gosh, that's so
right?
old.
So I went and I taught myself Front Page like overnight,
That's so nuts.
okay,
That's so nuts.
to get the website back up, right? And okay, all right, let's do one more name drop and then I'll let you go and I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. I'm having
Jim,
so much fun here. You don't just FYI,
all right,
don't worry
Jim
about
Ed,
me.
Jim Edwards.
Eh,
Really?
yeah. I mean, he's good. But
I I
nothing.
I owe Jim a lot. I
Yeah.
really do. I really do because it was his mini site creator, right?
Right.
That then led me to Composer,
Yeah.
right?
I
Okay?
hate
Yeah.
those.
That's how I built my websites.
Well, yeah. The reason I say man about I mean, it's not like he's not a great copywriter, and he partnered up at least at one point with Russell Brunson, and they were doing a
Yeah.
ton of stuff together.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's definitely like a legit guy for sure. I just always have that when I hear his name because I was going to interview him on my podcast and he wouldn't do it unless I sent him the questions first. And I was like, then I don't want to do it, bro.
Oh, that's
Like,
interesting.
don't come on.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of
I was
that
like, what are
either.
you scared of? Do you not know
Yeah,
your shit? Then
yeah.
yeah, I don't want to
Do
interview.
you remember? Do you remember once? I think when he changed his business model, I wrote him an email, and he used the email. He sent it out to the list,
Oh,
and
really?
you sent it to me. You're like,
Really?
hey, I just got this from Jim Edwards talking about you.
Oh, that's funny. I don't remember that. That's
Yeah.
too funny. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wrote it was when he changed his model and he dropped the price, but he was going to be doing something else or whatever. And I wrote him the best thank you email, right? Okay, because no, you know what? One more name, because you sent me this thing, the Evaldo Albuquerque guy. This,
Yeah, I mean that guy's a legend in the Agora space, in the Agora
yeah,
world. He's a guy who, and I haven't talked to him. Maybe I talked to him once, but I don't know him. He won't know me. But I have good friends that work with him that are like that. He's their copy chief or used to be or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, Evaldo is basically made his name because English is his second language. I think he's Brazilian. I'm not
yeah,
sure. Um, and he is like, or at one point was like one of the top copywriters at Agora that made like hundreds of millions of dollars in sales from his copy. And, you're collecting nice commissions off those hundreds of millions of dollars. You can make a lot of money. And he said that his superpower is because English is his second language. So he was forced to write in very simple, basic language that
hmm
made it easy for anyone to understand versus overcomplicating stuff. A lot of copywriters, what ends up happening is they hear all the cool words like discover and little known secret and blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's a place for all of that stuff. But if all you got are cool little catchphrases and words and you don't really understand the psychology of why things are being said and the way
right,
they are and being presented in the way that they are, then you're not really going to be able to consistently bang out winning copy that's going to make millions
yeah,
because you're just kind of shooting shit in the dark, right?
yeah,
Evaldo crafted a specific way like a almost a formula, really. I think it was like 16 steps or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
that that allowed him to more often than not write like the number one piece of copy for Agora. And so I know I applied a lot of it. It's funny you bring that up because now I'm going to start using it again. But he put a little booklet together and it was like 80 pages long. And some people were like, oh, it's only 80 pages, it's garbage, because he charged, I forget what, let's just call it 40 or 50 bucks for 80 page for an 80-page book. And people thought it was a ripoff. I'm like, this guy literally just listed out the golden nuggets right here. And it's like Gary Halbert said, he's got, there's two types of people here. There's the people who will pay you like $5,000 for your consultation, and they don't care if it's a 5-minute conversation or a 10-minute conversation, as long as you give them the answer. Those are the players with money.
Mm-hmm.
And then those are like the real players. And then you have the idiots who just kind of measure information by the pound or weigh it by the pound. Like, how thick is this book? How big is this course? Sometimes the longest courses and the thickest books are filled with a lot of extra fluff to make it look more value, because they need to have the perceived value be higher. But the guys who are really in the mix, we don't want to read a fucking 1,000-page book. Give me the 80 pages of shit that I need, that I can immediately start implementing. And Evaldo did that for the entire like marketing, copywriting community. It's not like the most popular book in the world, but it's probably one of the most popular books for copywriters, because if you follow it, you will for sure start seeing noticeable improvements in your conversions and bank account.
I don't have that notebook with me because I'm on a different notebook. But one day I'll show you where I used to go to the park before class or even during class, and I had Evaldo's book, and I would read the question, right? And then I would start writing out the JKD answers to it. I'll show you. I'll show you one day. Yeah.
That's smart. It's funny you mentioned. Let me here or not. If I don't, then I'll stop looking. But okay, no, I don't. I have somewhere. You gave me this. You let me borrow this big, like,
the binder
that's like copywriting success.
Yeah.
And it's like 1,000 pages of like stuff you printed out and put in here. And I probably said something like, yeah, I'll give it back to you in a week. And then it's been like 25 years or something. Still don't have it. You got it here though. I've used it many times.
Yeah.
But yeah, one day I'm sure maybe I owe it to you again. Maybe you need that.
No, you hold on to that, man. Yeah, I mean, that was when I was studying everybody, right? I was studying Brian Tracy. I was studying Charles Cook. I mean, everybody, anybody that Kennedy mentioned, right? I went out and got their book, So I have the Robert Collier letters.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. Oh, yeah. I all that stuff. I mean, and I used to, it was the thing, but I never had the courage that you had to try to make a living as a copywriter.
Yeah, it was intimidating at first, but then what I realized is most copywriters are like myself, introverts by nature. And that's also an unfair advantage if you know how to beat an introvert. All you got to do is be able to pick up the phone and have a conversation with a prospect, because most copywriters won't do that. So the way I kind of broke into working with Agora is I just cold called them. I cold called every one of their offices. I wrote a book that, because Kennedy says get a book together so you're respectable or something, right? And so I put a little copywriting book together. Half of it was like copywriting formulas that most people will know, and then the other half of the book was just a bunch of my copywriting samples. And I mailed like 30 books to all of these different offices at Agora. And I was cold calling them. I didn't have their actual like direct line to certain things. So I was calling their customer support numbers that were on the website, saying, hey, I wanted to write some copyright or write some marketing material for you guys. Who's the best person to speak to? They would pass me up the line, and then I would go and add these guys on Facebook. I'd add Clayton Makepeace. I'd add, all of these other people. And then I would just aggressively go for the opportunity versus waiting for them to say, I choose you.
Yeah.
Right. Because I was definitely not the best copywriter to be working with them. I'm just the only one that stood up. Right. So if I'm the only one you see, I'm going to be the one you hire. But there was tons of guys who are way better than me. And what I ended up doing, which was very profitable for a good amount of time, was I stopped writing copy. I started getting copywriters who were great copywriters at Agora, but didn't know how to get. They were good copywriters, but they weren't good self-promoters, and they weren't good salespeople for closing big ticket deals on their own. They almost needed to be like Agora would have to say, we'll pay you 20 grand for this and give you 5% royalty. And they'll say, okay. But they weren't saying, hey, I'll charge you 20 grand for this and 5% royalty. They were just waiting for it to happen. And I was just asking. I didn't care. I mean, I was already broke. So I'm like, what are you, I'm not going to be less broke. So, so I was just asking them. And then I realized that these other guys had better copy than me. And so I was just bringing them onto my team as contractors. So I was getting hired, I was getting the credit, and I was delegating the responsibility to my juniors who were better than me because they were already writing big winners for Agora, Angel Publishing, all these other competitors. So the big secret for me was just like, be the loudest guy in the room without being obnoxious, but be the loudest guy in the room. Like if you are, you will get attention. If you get the attention, you're going to win the business.
Yeah. Well, that's a Dan Kennedy principle right there, my friend.
Yeah.
That's the Dan Kennedy principle right there. All right. Well, listen, I know you got family to go take care of. So rest your voice. Bring your camera, bring your tripod. We'll be so professional tomorrow. We'll have 2 cameras.
There we go. Let's do it. I appreciate this call. This was super fun. Always open to doing it again whenever.
All right, man. All right. You take care. Right. I'll see you tomorrow.
Take care,
all right. Bye. All right. That was my boy, CLRG, Carlos Luis Redlich Galindo. All right. And that was episode 324 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. I think it was. Yes. Was it? Yes. Right. Okay. So you guys know the deal. Carlos will go through the comments to see if there's anything that we need to reply to. You can find him on Facebook. That'd probably be the best place to reach out to him if you want to talk to him personally. All right. So that's it. Feel free to share, like, and comment. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D Woods, at paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami, paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. That's where you can pick up a copy of the raw but edited version of the Jeet Kune Journey. paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. If you have not yet, wait, let me move that. Followed me over on Facebook at JKD Drills. Please do that today. That's the new project that I'm working on. Carlos will probably be helping me with that a little bit, but that's the new project I'm working on. So just become a follower over there. I appreciate it. If you watch us primarily on the YouTube, click the join link and become a paid subscriber to the YouTube. This is another aspect of the podcast that I will be building out in 2025. All right. So if you're interested in that, just click the join link and you'll see the different levels of membership that we have for the YouTube. All right. Okay. So see that bed behind me? I'm going to go hit that because it's 8:15 where my body is. I mean, where my mind is, but it's only like 6:15 or something where my body is. But I want to be stellar for these guys this weekend with this workshop that I'm doing for them. I'll report to you on it, you know, the stuff that we covered and what have you, and we'll have video clips and all that good stuff for you. All right. So you guys enjoy your weekend. Until next time, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, signing off. Take care. Talk soon.